I cleared it in under 30 seconds.
You what now?
I cleared that building in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud.
My golf game is weak. My kill game is strong.
That is Todd Kohlhepp, arrogantly bragging to the police about his ability to clear a room. In this particular case, he's talking about how well he murdered the victims of the Superbike motorcycle shop. And that's where we last left off, talking about how he murdered them and got away with it for 13 years. So I'm going to pick up there. Welcome to Mind of a Mass Murderer, where I'm going to continue to dive deep into the dark, cold waters of the mind of a vicious serial killer and mass murderer, Todd Kohlhepp. In January 2007, Kohlhepp bought a house, and this is where he ran his business and would employ more than a dozen agents in his 8 years in that business. He treated his employees with disdain and condescension while retreating to the back office to watch pornography. He was not a nice guy, said Yvonne Goodwin, who displayed ads for properties Kohlhepp listed for sale. He pretty much yelled and cussed my teammate out over the phone when he would speak to her. He was very condescending, said Yvonne. His clients knew nothing of his sexual offender status. They gave him complete access to their home to show it off to prospective buyers. One client recalled Kohlhepp becoming frustrated after talking on the phone with some prospective buyers, and that he was, quote, always whining and complaining about having to go collect rent from what he called deadbeats, end of quote. His extroverted nature would allow him to become one of the top performing salesmen in the region. He would try to charm his customers with his jolly good old boy persona, but most of his clients would often complain when he would go on tangents about guns and slip sexual innuendo into conversations. Those who had business dealings with him spoke to the Greenville News and the Anderson Independent Mail, consistently painting a different picture. One of a domineering, egocentric bragger who talked about his BMWs and guns and how well he knew how to shoot them. Quote, he would say, I'm just going to go off and shoot my guns and blow off steam, end of quote, recalled Roberta Shaughnessy, a client of Kohlhepp. He would say all these things in such a sarcastic way, you never knew. Ron and Maureen Owen lived next door to Kohlhepp on Windsong Way, and researched him online. But the relationship was a distant one despite his proximity. I knew he was a sex offender, Ron said. We had information on the internet, and he and I had a conversation about that. Michael Foster, an assistant pastor at Trinity Presbyterian Church in Spartanburg, rents a home that Kohlhepp managed. Foster said he was a creepy dude, just someone who makes everything about himself, someone that just talks a lot about money and a lot about how many people work for him. I always sensed when I was around him that I needed to stay close to him. He was someone that you needed to manage his presence around you, so you don't get managed. End of quote. While Todd's sinister nature would only occasionally seep through in the form of off-color remarks, his obsession with the opposite sex remained uncontrollable. He would frequent different restaurants around town, leering at waitresses. He would leave large tips for meals and then invite the waitress that served him back to his home. Many of the waitresses who dealt with him would describe him as a creep. A woman by the name of Tammy Whaley met Kohlhepp once a few years ago after a friend, who herself described Kohlhepp as a smart, arrogant man talking about guns and going for his pilot license, had suggested that she use him as a real estate agent. Just 15 minutes into the conversation, Whaley decided she didn't like him. Quote, I had an adverse reaction to him. He made me feel uncomfortable. I will never doubt my intuition, Whaley said. His favorite restaurant was a Waffle House in the town of Roebuck. He freaked out one of the waitresses so much that whenever he arrived, she would ask the mail cook to take his order instead. It was at that Waffle House that Todd would become obsessed with Megan Lee McCraw-Coxey, one of the waitresses on staff. Megan was 26 years old at the time and married to Johnny Coxey, who was 29. They lived in Spartanburg with their child. They had both just gotten out of jail. Megan and Johnny were both struggling drug addicts who had panhandled for drug money. Johnny had been arrested and cited with child endangerment while driving under the influence with both his wife and daughter in the car. Their child was placed into care through the Spartanburg County Department of Social Services. They were trying to get their life together. Todd would seem to target couples as part of his modus operandi. He did it to humiliate the male, taking pleasure in taking something that belonged to him. He also looked upon drug dealers with sneering condescension, with Megan and Johnny fitting the profile of people he looked down upon. Todd hired Johnny and Megan to work on his property, where he killed them both. He shot Johnny in the torso and held Megan captive, raping and torturing her for a week. When he was done with her, he shot her in the head. Megan and Johnny would be missing for over a year, and no one made the connection between their disappearance in connection with Kohlhepp. Just as he did with the Superbike murders, Kohlhepp had gotten away with murder. Kohlhepp maintained a presence on social media, and those communications took an ominous tone around the time he bought his 95-acre property in Woodruff in May 2014. Kohlhepp posted that he wanted an Ebola virus snowstorm to wipe the population away. Here's the quote. "Wipe out half the population, then melt away. Just tired of entitlement. Rude-ass people for no reason. People who race to cut in front of you and slam on the brakes to make a right turn. And that motherfucker just stands in the aisle at the grocery store checking out microbrews and blocking everyone in their way to average Michelob. Fucking move." End of quote. I think that just shows his arrogance and his lack of understanding of that the person he's talking about is himself. He by now had killed 6 people and felt as if he could get away with anything. His desire to kill reared its ugly head and he felt invisible. He decided to lure in another couple. At this time, Kohlhepp bought a huge property, almost 100 acres, complete with a huge 2-story barn and shed. He put up a chain link fence at a cost of $80,000 that his neighbors in the area thought was strange. Right around the time that Kohlhepp bought the property, he set up an account on Amazon and he purchased padlocks, tactical gear, targets, knives, gun accessories, and books about snipers and emergency war surgery. That's frightening. The post caught the attention of Spartanburg County investigators because this is what his reviews were. On a review about a knife posted on September 13th, 2014, he wrote, quote, "Haven't stabbed anyone yet, but I'm keeping the dream alive, and when I do, it will be with a quality tool like this." End of quote. And for a shovel with a folding handle, he wrote, "Keep in the car for when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Does not come with a midget, which would have been nice." So offensive. On another review, he wrote that one of his items was blacker than my soul and priced right. And this last one here was for a hidden shackle padlock, and he wrote, "Works great. Also, if someone talks back, go old school on them by putting this in a sock and beating them. They will not appreciate the hardened steel like you will." End of quote. His purchases also include items like purse, perfume, plush children's toys, DVDs of the zombie apocalypse show Walking Dead. These items are very telling. What was he going to do with a purse and perfume and a child's toy? I shudder to think of it. On August 31st, 2016, Todd hired 30-year-old Army vet Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charles Carver to do cleaning around his residence. Todd had known Kayla, and she had posted on social media that she was going over to his place to do some cleaning. The couple arrived at the farm and Todd unlocked the fence for them. They followed his car in their own vehicle, driving half a mile up. They came to a stop at a 2-story barn with a large storage container on the side. Todd then instructed the couple that he wanted them to take some hedge clippers and trim the underbush around the barn. He gave them both a bottle of water and a pair of hedge clippers before heading back inside the barn. The couple waited patiently until Todd came out of the barn with a gun. He fired at Carver first, not giving him a chance to react. According to Todd's mother, she said that he shot him because, quote, he had a really smart mouth. Carver was shot 3 times in the chest. Kayla Brown said, quote, he was a coward. He told me that he couldn't shoot someone in the face who was looking at him. Next, I'm going to play a clip here where Todd is on his property showing the police detectives around in regards to where he shot people, where he buried people, and what he did, how things played out. It's about Kayla Brown and Charlie Carver, but also about Megan and Johnny Coxey. It really gives you insight into the kind of monster that he is. He's so aloof, so arrogant, and boastful. Here it is.
I was here going back and forth. Was really deciding whether or not it was going to even trying to fit. I was just irritated. It was I don't even know what the hell. Basically gave him the trimmers, came out here. I came back around, walked inside, got the Glock 22, and then I came out and dropped him right about here.
Okay.
About this. There's nothing here from them.
I know you're thorough.
So, when you shot him how many times again, did we say?
3 times.
Okay. And when he fell, what happened then? What did you do after you shot him?
I secured her.
How did you secure her?
Took her in there, put her on the ground, put her in handcuffs. Got her basically where she wasn't a threat, wasn't going anywhere, wasn't doing anything.
Okay.
Then came back here and reassessed him.
And how did you when you reassessed him, what was your determination at that time?
I put another 40 in his chest.
Okay, so you shot him how many times?
3 times.
3 times total?
3 times total.
Okay. After you had shot him and he's down here, how did you proceed then?
Went ahead to talk with her. Basically explained that I wasn't going to rape her or anything. And then got her to calm down. She wanted to see the body. That wasn't going to happen. Got the tractor. Got her. Not right. Got her, took her to the other building, secured her there. Then I came back, got the tractor, and took the body up there.
Okay.
Have you found the car? Have you found the car?
Yeah. In the ravine?
Wasn't my best choice.
Did you do anything to the car?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do to it?
Covered it in stain and put about half a bag of dog food inside of it.
Okay. All right. Have you been back to the car since then?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Up there at the spot where you took Charlie,
Mm-hmm.
there were 2 holes dug.
Mm-hmm.
What was your intent with the second hole?
Hadn't decided yet.
Was that possibly for Kayla?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Is there anything you can think of? Anything else?
She came real close.
Really?
She has no idea. More than once. Like I told you, I have a real hard time with drug dealers. I have a real hard time with not your normal person. Sorry. With her nonsense with this, she was using the money that I was paying her that day to go get heroin. I almost dropped her here. That's what it got this escalated.
Mm-hmm.
Then she kept getting, with her attitude, she mood swings badly.
Okay.
Went through heroin withdrawal while she was here. I've never been through that with somebody. Basically got her clean off of heroin, but she's also, I will tell you, she's made it very crystal clear that the day that she gets out, and it's actually in the writings, that is what she's going to, first thing she's going to do is get a fix. If I can help you with the dealer's name, I will.
Okay.
I can tell you he's already pending in Greenville County.
Okay.
Because I ran his background on my thing on the civil record, and he's got several charges. He's black, but he's got a Hispanic name.
Okay. We'll find it. But
really hate drug
you
dealers.
called him, what was it you called him?
He went by Lucky.
Okay.
Do you know what county he lived in?
He was Greenville. He lives close to Pelham. I've never seen him,
Okay.
but if you guys hadn't done this,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go find him.
Understand? You want to sit back here? We can.
Yes, sir.
So after he shot Carver 3 times in the chest, he grabbed Kayla from behind, placing her into a headlock. Kayla said he said to her, quote, "I will kill you if you don't come with me," end of quote. Kayla was in a state of shock and couldn't help but comply. He then chained Kayla up and told her that he didn't want to hurt her, but he raped and tortured her for the next 2 months. She was fed once a day and was coerced into not trying to escape by being showed the graves of Todd's other victims. He would also tell Kayla of another girl, Megan, that he had kept captive on the property. Kohlhepp said to her, "She really pissed me off, so I killed her." Kohlhepp would proceed to tell Kayla about his life. He described the murders in gruesome detail, as well as an outlandish story where the government used him to kill people while he was in prison. He bragged about his kill count, which he said to her was nearing 3 digits. Kayla Brown would be his prisoner for over 2 months. He initially placed her in a shark cage-like prison cell, chaining her neck and ankle to the bars before locking her up inside the large storage container. In the first week of September, the families of Kayla Brown and Charlie Carver were worried. Missing persons files were made for the couple who had been last seen on August 31st, leaving their apartment complex together. Anderson investigators worked the case for a month and a half, when they realized that their search spread out to Spartanburg County. On October 18, 2016, Sergeant Brandon Letterman got a phone call. Quote, "You need to meet me with these detectives in Anderson. They've got a missing persons case that might lead up there. They are there now." End of quote. The Anderson officers outlined their case about the couple that had gone missing together and that their phones were pinging in Woodruff on August 31st. The only 100-acre property within 2 miles of that cell phone tower belonged to Todd Kohlhepp. Sergeant Letterman went to work. They flew over the 100-acre property looking specifically for Charlie Carver's white Pontiac. The car was covered in brown spray paint and brush, unidentifiable from air. Letterman pulled phone records for Kohlhepp, which showed his cell phone was in the same place as Kayla and Charlie on the last day they were seen. So at that point, we determined there was enough to go ahead and present the warrant to search the property of Todd Kohlhepp. End of quote, said Letterman. On November 3rd, 2016, 2 teams of investigators split up. 1 Anderson detective and 2 Spartanburg investigators would visit Todd's home on Winsong Way in Moore. A slew of detectives descended upon Todd Kohlhepp's Woodruff property. Detectives would talk to Kohlhepp, poking holes in his story, until the minute they got a phone call from Woodruff. Investigators had searched the barn, clearing it, but they also found U-bolt chains around the bed in a loft apartment. They moved onto the Connex container using a sledgehammer to break the lock, hearing the words "help" 15 minutes later. The investigators used Kohlhepp's own tools to cut open the container where he was holding Kayla Brown captive. As Kayla emerged from the dark, so did Todd's secrets. On a 30-minute ride to the hospital, Kayla would detail her daily interactions with Kohlhepp and how he killed Charlie Carver and other crimes that he told Kayla about. Here's a clip of Kayla bravely telling what happened to her right after she was rescued.
Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie?
Yes.
He shot him.
He shot him?
Who did?
Todd Kohlhepp shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Okay.
Investigators found Charlie's grave and recovered his body using a tattoo on his back shoulder to help identify him. But they hit a roadblock tracking down the graves of the other 4 bodies Kayla had spoken of. After previously asking for a lawyer, Todd Kohlhepp reinitiated contact with the investigators, Tommy Clark and Mark Gaddy. He began to tell them that he killed Megan and Johnny Coxey, saying he picked them up on the side of a road as they were panhandling, offering them work. Kayla was taken to the hospital, where investigators reported to the media that she was alive and well. Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright said Brown told investigators that there may be as many as 4 bodies on Kohlhepp's land. Wright said investigators were trying to determine if they were dealing with a serial killer. Investigators removed items, including 2 BMWs from Kohlhepp's residence. The agents that work for Kohlhepp's real estate firm said they were shocked by the case. On November 4th, heavy equipment was brought to the Warford Road property after cadaver dogs alerted the investigators to several places where Brown had been held captive. Spartanburg County Coroner Rusty Clevenger said a body was found at 10 a.m. Kohlhepp implicated himself in the 13-year unsolved quadruple homicide of the Superbike motorcycle shop. On November 6, Kohlhepp appeared in court in Spartanburg and was officially charged with 4 counts of murder. On November 7th, a third body was unearthed and removed from the property. The search for bodies also extended beyond the Woodruff property to other locations linked to Kohlhepp. On November 8th, the bodies of Megan and Johnny Coxey were found. On February 27, 2017, Kohlhepp was indicted by a Spartanburg County grand jury. In all, he faced 14 charges, including 7 counts of murder, multiple weapons charges, and kidnapping. On April 23rd, Kohlhepp's mother, Regina Ann Tagg, was found deceased in her Moore, South Carolina home following a long illness. The following day, Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office announced there were no plans to have Kohlhepp to see his mother's body before the service or allow him to attend the funeral. On May 26, Kohlhepp was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences, plus 60 years during a plea hearing that lasted for 2 hours. On July 2018, Kayla Brown faced Kohlhepp in a Spartanburg County courtroom for a damages hearing regarding her lawsuit filed against him. A judge rewarded her $6.3 million, though I'm sure she'll never see a dime of it. In August 2018, the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office canvassed the area of Interstate 26 in Chesney after Kohlhepp, through another tipster, claimed to have dumped the bodies of 2 additional victims there. Nothing was found, and the search was ceased. In August, items belonging to Kohlhepp were sold through an online auction. Around 550 items, including tools, books, artwork, an ATV, a gun safe, were sold to bidders. Money was raised to support the members of Kohlhepp's victims. In October, his 95-acre land in Woodruff was sold for $500,000. I don't know how anybody would want to own items from this guy. In December, a damages hearing was held in Spartanburg County to consider the damages to be awarded to several family members involved in the 2003 quadruple murder at Superbike Motorsports. The family members of the deceased continue to grieve and try to move on with their lives as best they can. Todd's need to brag about the Superbike murders ironically allowed the families to gain closure. Kayla Brown's life seemed to be falling into place. She met and fell in love and got engaged to Adam Mason. But tragedy struck. Adam Mason killed himself with a self-inflicted stab wound to the chest. Kayla said, quote, "I am heartbroken today over the loss of my fiancé. Adam was a true gift from God. He brought me great happiness and comfort during a very dark and difficult time. Building a life together restored my joy and gave me hope for the future." End of quote. The manner of death was ruled a suicide. I don't know why some people have to suffer so much tragedy in a lifetime. It really is unfair. I hope Kayla Brown is able to find some happiness in her life and that tragedy doesn't strike again. I wish her all the best. As for Todd Kohlhepp, I hope he just rots in hell. And on that note, that is the end of the episode. Thank you for joining in and listening. I invite you to come join me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to give me some feedback on what you think of the Todd Kohlhepp case, or other cases in general. Coming up next will be the post-mortem on this case. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Life's too short.
The mind of a mass murderer. I'm trying not to get worried, but what will make somebody just switch up an innocent child to a savage killer? Evil lurks, feel the energy. What can make them just go on a killing spree? Let's take a dive in the dark, cold water, of the mind of a mass murderer.